So the first 5 questions are based on a passage. So please make sure that you read the passage carefully. As usual, I am going to take you through that passage paragraph by paragraph. You are going to tell me once you've read that paragraph by commenting in the chat box down below. But then Vaishnav says, I'm not able to think of I am A, B and C even in subconscious mind. Okay. Vaishnav, why don't you keep a photograph of Abhishek Bachchan in your pocket? Now, in case you wonder why, you've seen Aishwarya Rai, haven't you? So a lot of people, I'm sure they would probably look at Aishwarya Rai and they're like, she's out of my league, I'm not going to ask. Abhishek Bachchan did not do that. He asked and the rest is history. So whether to select you or reject you, that is the job of the IIMs. Okay, let Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta decide that. Your job is to knock at their door and say, hey, I am a great candidate, take me in. चले अपना काम तो होता नहीं हमसे ढंग से यार, दूसरों का काम क्यों कर रहे हैं यार, इतना कितना प्यार में पड़ गए हम एबीसी के. अपना काम करेंगे, तैयारी, and then we'll go and then leave their job, their business to them. Okay, let's not worry about that. And whenever you get into this thought again, Abhishek Bachchan, okay, so take a couple of deep breaths and we get into the passage. Just center yourself, focus on the passage which is on your screen now. Hi Jagan. So I hope you are through with this particular paragraph. Here is the next one. Done? Vaishnav, we'll pick that up as well, yeah, don't worry. Okay, here is the next one. The last paragraph for you. Done? Okay. So the word ameliorate means to improve, and here is something to help you retain the meaning of the word. You see this rat in ameliorate, and maybe you also see this Leo, the lion. So ameliorate is when the rat tries to become a lion, that is to improve. This word happens to be the antonym of another very well-known word, and that is deteriorate. Okay, so with that, let us dive into our questions. Here is your first one. I'll remain quiet and I will let you figure out the answer. Use the seeker on your video to refer to the right part of the passage. See, it's possible. See, that's how all these sessions become useful and helpful. You gradually learn a lot. Okay, now this is a tricky question and I will tell you why. All these things, you look at A, it is mentioned. You look at B, it is mentioned. You look at C, even that is mentioned. D, even that is mentioned. Now out of these, B and D I think are still relatively easy to rule out, because even then not exactly that easy to rule out. So the problem is all the four are mentioned, and we still are being forced to choose one. So which one should we choose? So my take, I am going to choose A. Now why will I choose A? Look at this. The author is most likely to endorse. Endorse basically means support. Or in this context, you can even say agree with. So why will I go with A? Let me take you to the last paragraph, and I've highlighted some part for you. The author has used the expression more important. So he's mentioned everything else in the passage B, C and D, but when it comes to A, the author has said, more important perhaps, the state system constrained the ability of political and religious authorities to control intellectual innovation. So going by the passage, A has been given greater importance as compared to B, C and D, and because the question says most likely we'll choose A, otherwise the author is going to agree with each one of the four. But because we had most likely, we'd go ahead and choose A over the others. right? So that basically is the one that settled it for us. So just one expression could have pointed towards the right answer here. Okay, here is the next one. Give me the primary purpose of the passage. So what do you think? There are four basic purposes, right? Influence, inform, inspire, and entertain. Out of those four things, what is being done by this particular passage? So in other words, just ask yourself first, does this passage give you the author's own opinion on a topic? Okay, Gautam, I see that. That's interesting. Prasanna, buffering at your end. Must be some internet issue here. Okay, so this is a passage where the author has not shared his own opinion, and therefore it cannot be put under that category of influence. And because it cannot be put into that category of influence, this part, option B, is ruled out. When you advocate something, you support something. That suggests the presence of an opinion. That suggests that the author has taken a stance. Here, author has basically gone on to cite the different reasons given by others. So B can be eliminated. And is this passage, and within inform, there are multiple words that we can use. So for example, describe is one word. Is it descriptive? Does it give you vivid detail? Does it help you paint a picture through its words? No. So A is also eliminated. That leaves you with C and D. And D, I am sure all of you will be able to eliminate. To delineate the effect of the US and Russia competition on Europe. Not at all. US and Russia's competition has been mentioned as an illustrative example in the last paragraph. And in fact, this came in later. So it is an example picked up from the contemporary world to help explain to us the phenomena that played in Europe's growth. So D is also eliminated, and thus the best answer for us is option C. In fact, if you were to go back and look at the first paragraph, you'd find C. That's the core, right? Why or what helped Europe, Western Europe, grow economically? That's the focus. So C is going to be our best answer here. Here is the next one for you. So question number 3, what's your take? Okay, Nishant. Okay, so first up, A says a synergy between simple and emergent outcomes. Go back to the first paragraph. Would you want me to do that? Let's see. Let's just pick up the first paragraph. There it is. So here is the line. Okay, not here. Maybe it is in the second then. Here it is. It was rather what is known as a classical emergent property. So whatever happened in Western Europe was a classical emergent property. What we see after the hyphen is an elaboration, a definition, a complex and unintended outcome of simpler interactions on the whole. Now, do you see the word synergy mentioned anywhere here? Is there any synergy mentioned? And is there a synergy between simple and emergent mentioned? I don't see it. So when A says a synergy between simple and emergent outcomes, let's say this is something that is not even mentioned in the passage and therefore can be eliminated. So let's look at B, the state system fostering competition amongst talented people. Yes, the state system fostered competition, but the competition was fostered among the various countries in Western Europe, or the 12 countries, and not talented people, and therefore B is also ruled out. Okay, C, the constitution limiting the control of religious and political authorities. Yes, there was a diminished control of religious and political authorities, but it was not limited with the help of constitution. It was that state system, taking you back to the last paragraph actually. Here it is. So it is the state system which did that. It was not done through constitution in various countries. And D, an accidental outcome of simpler interchanges. The very first paragraph, the second paragraph where we talked about emergent stuff. That was the elaboration, right? Unintended. Unintended is accidental outcome of simpler interchanges, and that is why the best answer here is option D. Here is the next one. Question number 4 on your screen. What's your take? The author is least likely to agree with the view, what? That Europe's economic enrichment was fueled by the fact that, that's quite a mouthful. Go ahead and tell me which one of these the author is least likely to agree with. Okay, right, so I see D, I see B. Okay, so let us begin with A. Europe had an abundance of intellectuals and artisans. Remember all those states, they competed for intellectuals and artisans? So because they competed for them, obviously there were intellectuals and artisans available. Whether there was an exact abundance or not is something that can still be questioned, but I'd say, okay, the author is going to somewhat agree with A. How about B? Europe's state system encouraged intellectual innovation. Yes, state system led to competition and all those things. So B is something that the author will definitely agree with. So B can be ruled out. Why? Because between A and B, A somewhat agrees, B definitely agrees. So A becomes a better answer choice. Let's look at C. Europe planned for economic enrichment. Hey, according to the passage, was it not unintended? Or in the previous question, we've actually agreed to this word called accidental. So was it planned? Nope. This is contradictory to the passage. The author is not at all going to agree with C, and therefore A can also be eliminated now. Okay, how about D? Europe had the means for reinforcing knowledge-based growth. Let us see. Since quite a few of us have picked up D, let's just go ahead and so second paragraph, it generated a self-reinforcing dynamic of economic progress. So because there was a self-reinforcing dynamic playing, automatically it implies that there was definitely ability, because without that ability, how would this self-enforcing dynamic play out? And therefore, I think when it comes to option D, the author is once again going to agree to it, okay, or somewhat agree to it, and therefore between C and D, D is also ruled out, and thus the answer is C. I hope you paid attention to least likely to agree. Okay, so the answer is C, right? Tricky, right? C is outright contradictory, and therefore should be preferred. Okay, and here is one more question. You know, IIMs give us one passage with 4 questions. I give you a passage with 4 questions, but then I typically end up using the 5th question to cover the rest of the exams as well, where we get some other question types, some specific detail, vocabulary, etc. So here is your 5th question. Give me the synonym for these 2 words, unprecedented and innovation. Okay, so the best answer choice here, as most of you have picked up, is D. So I definitely agree with that as well. So D it is. And that takes care of our passage. Let us go ahead and dive into our next 2 questions. So what do we have in these 2 questions? A short paragraph which is followed by 4 alternate summaries, or as we normally call it, best summary questions or para summary questions, right? So a brief note on presentation. You'd find this question split into 2 slides. So slide 1 will have a paragraph in a proper font size that you can read very comfortably. I'll give you around 15-20 seconds to read it. On the next slide, you'll have the paragraph along with the answer choices, because you do need to refer to the paragraph as well. But because I'm trying to fit everything onto a single slide, the font size will go smaller. So you'd have to strain your eyes a bit. But as long as you can do that, I think we'd be able to work together very easily. Okay, so here is the paragraph for question number 6. Let me know once you've read it. How is singular? Unprecedented is something that has never occurred before. Similarly, a singular event is an event the likes of which we have never seen before. So if I say he's a singular personality, he is a personality that we've never seen before. That's in a way unprecedented. So paragraph for 6th. Oops, I did not realize that I'm blocking the last couple of lines for you. Now it's fine. Okay, so here is the question. What's your take? Shri, does the paragraph focus on India? And as GK, I absolutely agree with you. It is. See, the moment it involves interacting with other members in the society, we need to have a more nuanced understanding, a bit of empathy, a heightened civic sense, which can at times be missing in the interactions between some people in our part of the world. These are absolutely right. The correct answer here is B. As you can see, C gives you something new that has not been mentioned. A is again something that has not been mentioned. D is contradictory and therefore can be ruled out. And with that, let's dive into our next question. Here is question number 7 for you. Done? Okay, here is the question. श्री तू फंसवाएगा मुझे यार. Yes, Ritik, that's the latest development. Considering that most of you are already on Instagram, that's natural, right? Another place where we can I say shitpost? Okay, so the best answer here is indeed C, and you've absolutely nailed it. And with that, let us get into our next one. So in question number 8 and 9, I've given you 5 sentences. Now, when you read 5 sentences, the instinct in our mind would be, oh, paragraph odd one out. But no, these are not paragraph odd one out. These are para-jumbles. Instead of 4 sentences, I've given you 5. Okay. So the first one is smallish, easier. The second one, not so much. So let's start. Let's get going. Here is the 8th. What's your take? And obviously, CAT does not give you options, so I'm not giving you options either. Just arrange these 5 sentences in a sequence and share that sequence with me, and then we can sit and discuss. Kalamadi Instagram, that /Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, has launched a competitor to Twitter a couple of days ago. It's called Threads. So Let's see when the answers stream in. Okay, so Sri and Nishant have shared theirs. Let's see what others say to that. Ooh, I think so far every answer is off by just one word. Okay, a lot of you have put 1 after 2. Let me highlight something. So these of 1 and these of 4, both of them refer to rural upliftment programs. So we know that they definitely come after sentence 2. But look at sentence 2 carefully and focus on this verb where, that's past. Look at first, is. Look at fourth, where. What do you think? So also look at 3 and 5, is and is. So if you put 2, 1, 4, past, then a sentence on present, then again a couple of then again a sentence on past, and then again a couple of sentences from present, how will we explain that shift? So 214 is difficult. It should be 241. The tense will not make any sense otherwise. Okay, so instead of 214, use 241, focus on the verb, focus on the tense. That leaves you with 3 and 5. So 3 as however. What do we need before 3? What do we need before however? Contrast, and that contrast is provided by 5th. Moreover, 3 also has such places, and the such places can also refer to remote and inaccessible villages, and therefore it should be 5, 3. So 2, 4, 1, 5, 3. So when you say a new awakening is growing, prior to that you need to have that idea that nothing's happening, dude. So if you only look at 2, 4, 1, you won't get that idea. You need to put in 5 beforehand. So 2, 4, 1, 5, 3. Subtle clues, and they could have nudged us towards the right answer. Done? Vaishnav, just one issue here. I think most of us were off by just one placement. That's it. Otherwise, we were so close. But then the amazing thing was that you did not even take 60 seconds. So in an exam where people typically, we get around 2 minutes per question, almost 2 minutes per question. If you can tackle it in under a minute, it is still very remarkable. Okay, but that said, let's go into our next question. Slightly bigger, slightly longer, slightly trickier. Let us see. So take your time with this. Maybe you can set up a time and see how long it takes you. Yes, Ritik, very tiny, just a bit of an issue. It's okay. Ooh, okay. Man, I've received 3 answers, all of them very close. Off by just one odd word. Okay, Sai Hriday, that's different. So I'll just highlight some of these things. So when you look at 3, it talks about any sense popular or read by any public much more numerous than the proofreader. So whatever is mentioned in 3 can be referred to by this lack of popularity, and that is what connects 3 and 1 together. Then when you talk about this display of learning, you notice it is mentioned in first. So I was tempted to put 1 and 2 together. I was tempted to, I'll come back to it. This is what I did. And then I wondered fifth. Again, Lowell is perhaps lacking in penetrative sympathy. So this, somebody is criticizing Lowell and Lowell is criticizing Milton. So in sentence number 3, what Lowell said and the criticism are both together. But in sentence number 1, we know what Lowell said, but the criticism of Lowell was missing, and that is given in fifth. So ideally, the only place where I can fit it is immediately after first. So that is why I erased 1 plus 2, and I thought that okay, I need to have 1 plus 5 plus 2. So look at 3, okay? 3, Lowell criticizes Milton, the author of the paragraph criticizes Lowell. Then 1, Lowell criticizes Milton, 5, the author of the paragraph criticizes Lowell. And then of course you have 2 that has to come after, because of the display of learning. So I am very sure of 3, 1, 5, 2. Now the question is, where do we put in 4? So 3, 1, 5, 2 is a given. The only question is, where do I put in 4? Look at what 4 says. 4 says, if Lowell had applied this criticism to Milton's poetry rather than to his prose, it would at least have been more difficult to oppose his judgment. So number 1, when you say this criticism, it should come after 3, 1, 5, 2. And number 2, when you say applied this criticism to Milton's poetry rather than to his prose, that's another clue. Look at these other sentences. We are basically criticizing, or Lowell is criticizing, Milton's prose. So obviously all these sentences need to come before 4, and therefore the only place where 4 can go is at the end, and thus the best answer for us is 3, 1, 5, 2, 4. A lot of us were very close, right? We were just about there, and I am sure reading a little more deeply could have helped us unravel some more clues. Okay, but good job, Sonali. Then, Nidhi, that was very close, man. That was very close. And all of you who have managed to identify, hang on, did I miss out on something? Did I end up writing it wrong? Just give me a sec. Let me just. This is it. Yes, 3, 1, 5, 2, 4. So if you could actually figure out 1 plus 5, that was absolutely awesome. I felt that 1 plus 5 is perhaps the trickiest thing here. And thereafter, the second trickiest thing was placement of 4. So I'm sure you'd be able to look at these again and then see. Haritik, you'll obviously not know the right answer. You're supposed to use logic to figure out that right answer. Okay, so keep practicing and I'm sure you'd go on and improve. So that's about the exam. Here is a bit for the mind. From somebody that a lot of us already know, right? Beyonce. So this is what she said. If everything was perfect, you would never learn and you would never grow. It's only imperfections that actually propel us, help us grow further. Right? So that's it from me today. If you liked the session, don't forget to like the video as well. And